Welcome to Football Game Plan's NFL X Factors preview show, where we take you around the league previewing the games on the upcoming schedule. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Mike McCarthy is the producer behind the boards, and we're ready to get this thing rolling as we kick off another great week in the NFL. On the surface, the New York Jets and Jacksonville Jaguars should be a defensive slugfest, and by all accounts, it should be. But as we look deeper into the matchup, you can see some of the offensive X factors that'll play a huge role in the outcome of this AFC battle. Quiet as kept, the Jets are a pretty good rushing team, and they can get the job done with two players in Isaiah Crowell and Bilal Powell. When you're tasked with a quarterback that seems to be in a rut and want to get him into a groove early, the best solution is allowing the running game to lead the way and let him operate off play action. There is some room to run the football against this Jags defense, and the Jets just have to be committed to doing so and not try to make this a Sam Darnold versus Blake Bortles type of a game. And speaking of Bortles, if I'm the Jets defensive safeties, I trust what Bortles is showing them initially. I don't think he does a great job of looking off defenders and will tend to lead defenders to the ball or bring them back into the play if initially beat by the receivers. So here's a great opportunity for the Jets to generate turnovers, or make key stops to get them off the field. Moving over to the Jags in this ball game, offensively speaking, Blake Bortles has to be able to make those stick throws over the middle of the field. The boundary is where the Jets are strongest in coverage, in my opinion, and they tend to be a little bit more soft over the middle of the field. And by soft, I'm talking about NFL-type windows for an NFL-type quarterback to make tough but the right throws. So it's up to Bortles to trust his instincts and his receivers to make these key plays to extend the drives and subsequently lead the Jags to points. Defensively, first down defense is going to be key for Jacksonville. The Jets will try to do one of two things: either come out throwing short, safe passes, or running the football on first down. Winning here allows you to disrupt their game plan and put a rookie quarterback in an unfavorable second and long, third and long situation. To me, winning on first down is ideally what you want if you're Jacksonville, because you can then dictate what the Jets do next. Now, I like the Jets in this ball game. Both defenses will be stellar. Quietly, the Jets do a great job defensively despite the critics. This is a game where they can take some chances, against a quarterback that is apt to making the critical mistake at the most crucial of times. So look for Gang Green to get back on track. The 3-0 Miami Dolphins travel to Foxborough, Massachusetts to take on the New England Patriots, who are at 1-2 so far this season. Starting with the Dolphins in this ball game, and the backfield has to be able to help this Miami offense sustain drives. Right now, the Dolphins are only converting 32% of their third down opportunities, and that can't continue in that direction if they want to be successful. Both Kenyon Drake and Frank Gore have to be able to find some room this week on the ground, which will take some of the pressure off of Ryan Tannehill in that passing game. The Pats' run defense could provide the perfect remedy. On the defensive side of the ball, I'll look at rookie linebacker Jerome Baker in coverage. Right now, the Patriots are struggling to push the ball deep downfield, so they are more than likely going to attack the short to intermediate areas of the field, which puts the focus squarely on the linebackers in coverage. Baker is their best coverage linebacker, in my opinion, and has to be excellent against both backs and tight ends in man coverage and be able to trust his responsibilities in zone. Moving over to the Patriots in this ball game, and the wide receivers have to step up and loosen up this offense. The Pats offense, until they get Julian Edelman back or integrate Josh Gordon into the fold, they've been pedestrian at best on the perimeter. They must win these one-on-one battles on the outside this week against a matchup-style defense of the Dolphins in order to have a chance. Philip Dorsett and Chris Hogan must bring their A game this week for New England. Defensively, the pass rush has to also find its way back into the mix, and maybe with the return of Trey Flowers, it can go a long way in ensuring that happens. On paper, the Pats have some dudes that can get the job done, but having them and them actually being able to do it are two different things. The benefit they have this week is that they're facing a quarterback in Ryan Tannehill who doesn't have the best pocket presence and will concede a few sacks at times in this ball game. This is a great matchup for them to get their pass rush rolling. I like Miami in this ball game. The Dolphins defense, in my opinion, will do a great job of making things difficult once again for this Patriots offense. I've been impressed with their ability to stop the run, and they have the personnel on the back end to match up and win versus the personnel of the Patriots. Looking at the Philadelphia Eagles-Tennessee Titans game, and one quarterback is back healthy while another one is still dealing with some injuries. And I'm obviously talking about Eagles quarterback Carson Wentz, who returned last week against the Colts, and a Titans signal caller Marcus Mariota, who was pressed into action last week despite trying to nurse a hand injury. Let's take a look at what has happened this week in the game plan to make sure both have stellar performances. I look at the Eagles getting Alshon Jeffrey back this week and feel as though the receivers will have to be the biggest X factors in this game offensively for Philadelphia. With Wentz's return to the lineup last week, we saw the productivity of the tight ends go up significantly. Part of that is due to Wentz's ability to get the ball to them and work them into the game plan early. The other part is that outside of Nelson Agholor, the Eagles have struggled on the perimeter so far this season, so having Jeffrey back to go along with Agholor, who is the move piece within this offense, should alleviate some of that pressure off the passing game. Defensively, I look at linebacker Jordan Hicks versus his Titans running game being the biggest X factor so far. He's the leading tackler on this team and has played some really good ball this season. This Titans offense will try to minimize their attempts versus this Eagles pass rush by running the football, so Hicks will have to have a big game in order for the Eagles defense to have success. Moving over to Tennessee in this matchup, and the kryptonite to an aggressive defensive front is the mobile quarterback. The Titans have that in Marcus Mariota, and they'll need him to utilize that great athleticism to keep Tennessee on the field offensively. Now, Mariota has to be able to evade, buy time in and out of the pocket, as well as pick up yards and chunks on the ground to really calm the pressure of Philadelphia. How he plays ultimately determines how much success the Titans can have as a whole on Sunday. On defense, the safety play will be critical in this matchup versus the Eagles. Kenny Vaccaro and Kevin Byard matching up against the tight end duo of Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert will be key. It's all about taking away Carson Wentz's favorite options in the passing game and dictating where he goes with the football. If Tennessee allows those tight ends to eat like they did last week against the Colts, it could be a long day for this defense. This is probably the best matchup in this game, pound for pound, and I'm excited to see it play out. I like Philly in this ball game. The Eagles' defensive line will be able to create problems up front for Tennessee. Those problems will spill over to the running game being ineffective for the Titans, thus making them one-dimensional, so look for the Eagles to go into Nashville and get the victory. Big battle in the AFC South between the Houston Texans and the Indianapolis Colts, and a bit of a surprise. It'll be the defense that should be the story in this one. Well, at least one of the main ones. Who will be the X factor as we dive into the matchup? We'll let you know. Starting with the Texans offense in this game, they should have rookie wide receiver Kiki Cutie back in the lineup, and I think he's primed for a breakout performance, or at least he has to have one. The Texans drafted him to be the X factor, serving in a role very similar to what he did at Texas Tech, and having a guy of his caliber in the slot really opens things up on the outside for DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller. Houston will need him to be that guy against the Colts. On defense, I look to Romeo Crennel, the defensive coordinator, being the biggest X factor for the Texans. It's as simple as making Andrew Luck uncomfortable in the pocket, continuing to make their ground game struggle, and get off the field on third downs. These were things the Texans couldn't do consistently last week against the New York Giants, and obviously can't allow those things to happen again versus the Colts. Moving over to Indianapolis in this game, and it's the time for their offensive line to lead from the front. Maybe I'm in the minority here, but I think they have really good personnel up front and should be able to spearhead a ground game that'll take some of the pressure off Andrew Luck in the passing game. Right now, the Colts aren't effective on the ground and is limiting what they can do offensively. Defensively, rookie linebacker Darius Leonard has been as good as advertised, especially versus the run. I'm more interested in how he's progressing in the pass defense department this week. Last week versus the Eagles, you saw a guy that was thinking too much out there on the field in coverage, and as a result was a bit late in reacting to routes that were being run directly behind him or alongside of him. His growth in this area will be huge this week as Deshaun Watson, just like Carson Wentz, loves to attack the middle of the field. I like the Texans in this ball game. When Deshaun Watson in that passing game clicks, they pick up yards in chunks. I think we'll see Bill O'Brien go to more of an up-tempo approach this week, and as a result, you'll see the Texans offense respond the way they did last year when they were firing on all cylinders. The Buffalo Bills pulled off the shocker last week as they dominated the Minnesota Vikings, while the Green Bay Packers lost to the Washington Redskins. Now, there were some breadcrumbs left behind in both matchups that can lead you the right way or to the right way to attack both teams. Let's find out what they are. The Bills' offensive X factors start and ends with rookie quarterback Josh Allen. He played a good game last week against the Minnesota Vikings. That was definitely a step forward for him. The Bills staff wants to see him put together back-to-back solid weeks, which will be huge for his progress and the team's progress as a whole, especially on that side of the ball. The Packers' defense does not provide as tough of a test as the Vikings did, so if Allen is able to be consistent, then the Bills should be just fine on Sunday. On the other side of the ball, I look at the secondary being the biggest X factor in this game. To me, they are more than likely to get the most work this Sunday. Tre'Davious White, rookie Teron Johnson, and the rest of those defensive backs are facing a Packers passing game that loves to the back shoulder throw. They love attacking vertically down the field, and they also love to work touchdown to check down. So they will have to be on point this upcoming week in order to get the W. For the Packers in this ball game, with the return of running back Aaron Jones, he instantly becomes the biggest X factor in this contest. I'm a Jamal Williams fan. I'm also a Ty Montgomery fan, but the Aaron Jones ability or his fluidity in his game and his running style is something that the other two guys don't have. And having him back in the mix could be the jolt the Packers need in the running game. Defensively, I took the easy route and focused on Clay Matthews. With consecutive weeks of egregious roughing the passer calls, will we see him start to play a little bit less aggressive, which will be bad for this defense because he's playing some good ball right now. They need him to be him all the time in order for that defense to have success. But you do wonder how much of the bad calls will start to play into his psyche this week and try to limit what he's able to do or capable of doing as a player that we've come to know and love throughout the course of his career. I like the Packers in this game. The running game will be better this week, and defensively, they'll be able to find some success against Josh Allen and those Bills receivers. So look for Green Bay to pick up their second win on the season. If you play fantasy football, check out my fantasy football content on The Athletic by visiting the website, theathletic.com, and following them on Twitter at TheAthleticFF. If you want to put a couple shekels on a few games, both college and pro, be sure to check out Football Game Plan's Best Bets podcast, located on iTunes and also on SoundCloud. Football Game Plan analysts Chris James, Gene Clemens, and myself give you our best picks that week or the upcoming week to help you take home the loot on game day. So that's it for this week's episode of Football Game Plan's X Factors. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts, and don't forget to check out and subscribe to Football Game Plan Network, which is located at youtube.com/Football Game Plan. Also, subscribe on iTunes to Football Game Plan Podcast, and be sure to leave us a 5-star rating.